Now I'll speak briefly in English so that Joe James and Chola Karim and Acha Alexa and Acha Lee can understand what I was saying, and the donors here. So today we are celebrating His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday. We call him the great 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. In fact, he is the greatest Dalai Lama of Tibet. Because like Buddha, whose teaching had spread across the world, His Holiness has traveled to 62 countries and given 152 awards. He has authored and co-authored 100 books. So his legacy will live on for hundreds and thousands of years, like the Buddha himself. And he talks about 4 commitments. Number 1, as a human being, how you should think and how you should act. Number 2 commitment is, as a Buddhist leader, how one should act. And number 3, as a Tibetan, what he thinks and what he believes. And number 4, as a Pandita or a scholar of Nalanda tradition, how he can help bring peace in the world, not just by talking, but by actually implementing a curriculum. Number 1, as a human being, he says, there is no human being who wants suffering. Every human being wants happiness. And there is no human being who wants violence and war. Everybody wants peace. If you want to achieve peace in the world, if you want to be a happy human being, what you must do is learn compassion and kindness. If you do that, if you change within yourself, if you are a kind person, if you are a compassionate person, you change and the world will change. Now if you be a compassionate person, what will happen? As a politician will not think about power and position, but they will think about people and service. If you are a businessman, you don't think simply about profit for yourself, but you will think to share profit, create employment, create service, so that you can bring food and shelter to your employees. As a teacher, you would not think simply for your career, but you will think about students and teaching, so that the future generation will become better citizens and go on to serve the world. That is his number 1 commitment. Number 2, he talks about, as a Buddhist leader, what he can do. And so many wars have been fought in the name of religion. Destruction of communities and nations have taken place in the name of religion. He says we should end this. To end this, all the leaders of different faiths should come together, have dialogue, have understanding, emphasize commonality about love, compassion and kindness. Don't emphasize differences. That way, we can have a religious leader advocating for harmony and not to harm each other. That's why he was the founding member of the World Parliament of Religion. Even today, this body brings future leaders from all over the world, so that as much as possible, you could contribute towards peace and harmony in the world. And number 3, as a Tibetan, he says he is a Tibetan, and Tibetan culture is rich, and Tibetan environment is precious, not just for 6 million Tibetans, but for the whole world. Tibetan culture emphasizes humility, kindness. So that's why here in Toronto, all over the world, Tibetan as a brand, as known as peace-loving people. Maybe Tibetans are not as beautiful and as perfect as His Holiness says so, but definitely we all try to be as good, as best as His Holiness describes Tibetan people. And he says the Tibetan culture is so precious. If you talk about Buddhism, there are so many Buddhist countries around the world, but at most they have a dozen or 2 dozen, 3 dozen volumes of what Buddha said. But only in Tibetan language, we have 330 volumes of what Buddha said and his followers said. If you talk about Buddhism, the best kept literature on Buddhism is in Tibetan language. To preserve Tibetan culture, to preserve Tibetan literature, means to preserve Buddha's teaching. I think monks are clapping here, they agree with that. And as far as environment is concerned, Tibet's environment is called roof of the world. It's more precious than ever. Today we feel the heat in this room because of global warming. But we all talk about the first and the second pole. Arctic and Antarctica are popular all over the world. But one can make an argument. The third pole, Tibet, is more important than the first and the second pole, because when the glaciers and the snow in the first and the second pole melt, it goes to ocean. It becomes salt water. It's not drinkable. But 40,000 glaciers of Tibet, when they melt, it becomes streams, it becomes rivers, and it becomes a life-saving for 1.4 billion people in that part of the world. Now if you preserve Tibet's environment, the mountains and the plateaus and the glaciers, what will happen? By 2050, it is projected that there will be 10 billion people, of which 5.67 billion people will be in Asia, of which 60% will live in urban areas. What do they want? Water. And where is the water? It's in Tibet. To preserve Tibet's environment, Tibetan plateau, it's in the interest of Asian people and also the world. Scientists say that jet stream over Tibet affects the climate right here in Canada. So if you're feeling warm, because Tibetan glaciers are melting very fast. If you prevent Tibetan glaciers from melting fast, we will have a cooler Canada in summer. Maybe a warmer Canada in winter is the jet stream that we are talking about. So that's why Tibet's environment is very important to preserve Tibetan culture. Tibet's environment is in the interest of the whole world, particularly even the Chinese say so. Chinese scientists say we should declare Tibetan Plateau as the national park, because from there we get our water. Tibetan Plateau saves us. That's what even Chinese scientists are saying so. This is good. I hope the Chinese leaders will realize this and preserve Tibetan culture and preserve and protect Tibet's environment. The fourth commitment is about Nalanda tradition. This is again the first 3 commitments, to teach compassion and kindness among the children. He says jokingly, elderly people, you can't change their mind. He has traveled all over the world. He tried his best. He has almost given up. They are too stubborn. They think black and white. They don't change your mind. But the best way to change the world is to change and inculcate compassion and kindness among children. So he initiated 3 learning, social emotional intelligence-based learning curriculum now. The curriculum is taught in 42 countries. 100,000 schools are teaching this curriculum. 17 million students are learning about the key essence of His Holiness Dalai Lama's teaching, that every human being wants happiness, no one wants suffering, every human being wants peace, no one wants war. If you don't want that, the 17 million children around the world, in 24 countries, it's 42 countries, are coming up to lead the world, so that we will have politicians who are not for power or position, but for people and service. We will have 17 million business people who will not fight for their own profit, but to share profit and share wealth and generate employment and livelihood for millions of people around the world. So we'll have teachers, we'll have people who will be kind-hearted and nice to each other. As His Holiness and Buddha says, if you cannot create happiness among other people, don't cause harm. It's a simple rule. That's what His Holiness is. So we are very proud that we are celebrating His Holiness' 90th birthday. We pray that He will live very long. And recently He announced that He is going to live beyond 100 years. We are elated. He announced that the reincarnation of 14th Dalai Lama will come and the institution of Dalai Lama will continue, not just for the sake of 6 million Tibetans, not just for the sake of Buddhists around the world, but to bring peace, non-violence, compassion and kindness in the world. Like Buddha came 2,500 years ago, we see His Holiness Dalai Lama as the manifestation of Buddha compassion. His legacy will live on for hundreds and thousands of years. We all are celebrating, but we all should embrace His teaching, His thinking, and continue His legacy. May His Holiness live long. May His Holiness Dalai Lama return to Tibet, be with 6 million Tibetans sooner than later. That is our prayer. That is our wish. And hopefully, sooner than later, we all will celebrate next birthday of His Holiness in Free Tibet. Thank you.
Tashi, members of Sangha, honorable guests, elected officials, and dear brothers and sisters from across Canada and beyond. Today is a special day, a day of deep joy, gratitude, and reflection. We gather here to celebrate the 90th birthday of His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, our beloved leader, a global teacher of peace, and a guiding light for our people and the world. For 90 years, His Holiness has dedicated his life to compassion, non-violence, and wisdom. His words have brought calm in times of crisis. His teaching have inspired millions, from Buddhist practitioners to people of all faiths and cultures. And for us Tibetans, he is not only our spiritual leader, but also the heart of our identity and the hope of our future. Even in exile, His Holiness has never stopped working for the freedom and dignity of the Tibetan people. He has reminded us that our struggle must always be peaceful, rooted in compassion, and open to dialogue. Through his leadership, the world has come to know the beauty of Tibetan culture, the importance of our values, and the strength of our non-violent movement. To Canadians, His Holiness is a symbol of moral courage. He was welcomed here with love and respect. In 2006, His Holiness was awarded the honorary Canadian citizenship, one of the only few in history. This reflects the deep connection between the people of Tibet and the people of Canada. With this, I would like to welcome our special guests, Will Sutherland and Anne Sutherland. With their generosity, we could able to purchase this beautiful Tibetan Community Center in 2007. Thank you, Willa and Anla. Now, I would like to introduce and welcome our chief guest of the event, former Sigal of the Central Tibetan Administration, Dr. Lobsang. Thank you, Dr. Lobsang and his daughter, Mete Rawala, for being here with us on this important event, all the way from Boston. Kochema. Along with the chief guest, we have following guests of honors. National Liberal Caucus Chair, Member of Parliament for Topgyal Lakeshore, Parliamentary Friends of Tibet Chair, Honorable Mr. James Manoldi. Newly elected Member of Parliament for Tai Kong Topgyal High Court, Honorable Mr. Karim Bartesi. Newly elected Member of Provincial Parliament for Tai Kong Topgyal High Court, Ms. Alexia Gilmore. Newly elected Member of Provincial Parliament for Topgyal Lakeshore, Ms. Lee Fairclough. We have our Unit Commander, Inspector Jeff Bengal. Senior Officer Lhamo Jondova. Next honor. Sub-Surgeon from Zika. Toronto Wellness Manager Tenzin Nevala. President of Canadian Multicultural, Dr. Tulsi Arena. We also have Sheriff Kajila, Executive Director of Canada Tibet Committee. And today we were joined by many representatives from Canadian Multicultural here as well. Today, as we celebrate His Holiness' 90th birthday, we not only honor a life of wisdom, we renew our commitments to the value He has given us: kindness, truth, unity, and peace. Let us continue to work together. Tibetan organizations, community members, and friends to share the light of His Holiness with others. Let us build a future where Tibetan culture continues to thrive, where the youth carry our values forward, and when our spirit remains strong, no matter where we live. On behalf of the Tibetan Canadian Cultural Center and the Canadian Tibetan Association of Ontario and the entire Tibetan community, I offer our deepest prayer to His Holiness, long life, good health, and continued leadership. Happy 90th birthday, Your Holiness. Thank you, Pujiche. Thank you all.
So